In the words of the creator, TaleSpire is a beautiful way to play pen and paper RPGs online. Bring your stories to life and embark upon a campaign together with your friends regardless of where you are in the world. It is an online, digital, graphical way of playing classic pen and paper role-playing games with your friends. Okay, that sounds good on paper, but does this 3D map making and virtual tabletop tool holds up to that statement? Greetings, adventurer! My name is Koroc DM. I've been a dungeon master for over a decade and a passionate map maker, and today I want to share my impressions on TaleSpire with you. So let's see what we got in the chest today. I've made a lot of maps in the past, but never one in 3D. If you don't count Minecraft. Wait. Let me write this idea down for the future. Okay, back to the topic. To see how the process compares to tools like Dungeon Draft, I recreated one of my 2D maps using TaleSpire during one of my live streams. It truly amazed me to see the mansion taking form. I'm in love with the resin miniature aesthetic. It results in the feeling of sitting at the hobby table in front of a big set piece playing with miniatures. I mean, look at these animations. Frame by frame it looks like a mini you would build and paint at home instead of a usual fire and electricity animation effect. Overall, the whole aesthetic is consistent in itself, and this really enhances the atmosphere for me. After taking these first impressions and playing around with the different assets, and I started my map reconstruction, I encountered some problems. But before I dive into my findings, keep in mind that TaleSpire is still in early access, and the developers are working quite closely with the community to improve it. There were two major complications with the way walls and tiles can be placed during the recreation. The first being that diagonals are not a thing in TaleSpire. Well, not except these. And except these. Okay, let me rephrase it. It is impossible to rotate the walls and tiles by 45 degrees. If you played Minecraft, you should already be familiar with some of the workarounds, but it is definitely something to keep in mind if you want to transition existing maps from 2D to TaleSpire. The second problem, or better said inconvenience, is that placement of walls and tiles are strictly bound to the grid, whereas in 2D map makers I can turn the snapping to the grid off or at least place tiles between two grid squares. In TaleSpire this is just not possible, at least in the XY plane. If you want to go up and down, we have much more freedom in the placement, with 0.25 grid square steps. Before I show you the one feature that literally blew my mind, here are some minor inconveniences that I stumbled upon. There's only one water level. It can be adjusted at any time, but if you, for example, build a mansion close to a lake, but you also want a basement, you have to adjust the water level mid-game or else the basement is flooded. Being able to define a local water level would be helpful, but it is definitely not something I would be super upset about if they don't put it in. Another point that surprised me at first, walls are not just paper thin and do matter when you design a room. These walls are thick. The good thing is that you get used to handling them quite easily and they just look gorgeous. One of the problems that will most definitely be fixed over time is the lack of variety in assets at the moment. There are regular updates at the moment and there are additional asset packs planned with different styles for the future. TaleSpire is in early access after all. And now the feature that blew my mind and is by far one of the biggest selling points of this game. Copy paste. By that I mean that you can easily select an area and just duplicate. Wait. That is not what I have selected. Is that the Blue Waters Inn from Curse of Strahd? Yes indeed. When I say copy paste, I mean that you select an area and copy it. It is put in a text file. You can go ahead and paste that text file all over the internet or on TaleBazaar.com to share your creations with the community, like Leskov did with the Blue Waters Inn, and others can easily paste your creations into their maps. This makes creating large-scale maps so much easier, because you can use the large collection the community has already created and remix and change it up to your map's needs. TaleSpire is not only a building tool to create magnificent set pieces, but also allows you and your party to play at virtual table with minis. Not mere tokens like in other virtual tabletops like Roll20 or Foundry, but real virtual 3D miniatures. The developers are even working on a hero designer to help you create a mini for your character. And for all the designers out there, they have even talked about releasing Tailweaver, the program they use to create all their 3D models, to the public. So it is even easier for the community to create asset packs and custom models. What is this? I'm not sure, but it is absolutely adorable. And it wants you to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it so far. What is your name, little fella? What, you don't have one? Maybe someone watching this has a great idea for a name for you. If indeed you have one, write your suggestions in the comments. Let's find a name for this adorable little fella. But there's always a but, isn't it? And so there are some cons to this playing side of TaleSpire as well. Namely, that it comes with a price tag of $20.99 at the time I record this. Okay, paying for a tool like TaleSpire is totally fine with me, but at the time being, every single player needs to buy TaleSpire for themselves. So for a group of 4 players, plus the DM, that is around €100. That is quite a lot of money, especially if your players only want to use TaleSpire for the campaign. There is no sugarcoating it. At the moment, you and your group have to decide if you think the investment is worth it for yourself. Okay, with that out in the open, let's look at something fun. You can take a bunch of dice and throw them all over the table. TaleSpire gives you the sum, and by grabbing just one of the die, you grab them all. That is pretty convenient, but not really enough to offset that there is no option to have character sheets or anything similar except for the option to assign a mini with a handful of basic stats. There is a Chrome plugin though that lets you use your D&D Beyond character sheets and modifiers. However, if you are playing another TTRPG or don't use D&D Beyond, TaleSpire is definitely lagging behind the competition. Where TaleSpire is definitely convincing is the ability to engage your players during the game by allowing them to participate in the building, so they can help to build new sets while you describe them. If you want to adjust the scene, like swapping a wall for a door after the players found a secret lever, or swapping out a fireplace for a lit version, you or one of your players can easily do so. Other noteworthy features are the option to create your own cutscenes to establish a scene, using the initiative mode to restrict character movement to a turn order, having emotes and attack animations. Look at this little magic missile! And one of my favorites is letting your mini float. See how they include a clear pedestal instead of just letting them float mid-air? Details like this really show the dedication of the developers to the resin mini aesthetic. Okay, I could go on, but I think I created a good overview. So, in conclusion, TaleSpire is a very promising tool with an amazing aesthetic that you can easily create great set pieces in. At the moment, the lack of gameplay mechanics to support character sheets or stat blocks might be a little too great of a problem for many to switch from the other virtual tabletops to TaleSpire. However, seeing that the developers are well aware of this and the community already found some workarounds, you definitely should keep an eye on TaleSpire. If you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell to get advantage to spot future videos. Your DM for this video was Koroc DM, and I hope you join me next time.